Welcome to Behind the Tools. Here's Tradify CEO and your host, Michael Steckler.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode about Behind the Tools. Delighted this week, we've got a guest in New Zealand, actually here in Auckland. Welcome to the show, Alex Van Dam from Queen's Workwear.
Yeah.
Great to have you on. And as always, maybe might be worth starting by sort of explaining how you got into trades and what you've been up to and what led you to your current business.
All right. I worked at a timber yard when I was about 16 for a few years. And I really I fell in love with timber. I really liked the work, and it was a really amazing man who owned the business. And I grew up with a lot of really great men who didn't really look at gender as having any sort of issues, we're
Right.
sort of equal. And so anything like a man could do, a woman could do, sometimes better. Yeah. And so I did that for a while. And yeah, that was amazing. But I was actually really passionate about teaching. And so I was studying a Bachelor of Education in primary school teaching, which I did for a couple of years, dropped out because it wasn't really for me. And then at that stage, my life sort of derailed a bit. I had a couple of deaths in the family of grandparents. And back then I was living with an undiagnosed mental illness. And so I really struggled to regulate my emotions. And so I sort of started partying and drinking and doing drugs. And that was my life for a few years. And then, I sort of found my way back to construction because I was talking to this nun. I'm quite a spiritual person. And she said to me, talking about vocation and what you want to do with your life. And if you're not sure, you should study what you love. And it took me a little while to figure it out because I was like, what do I love? I have no idea. But I'm really passionate about homeless people. I can't really walk past a homeless person on the street without having some kind of interaction with them, buying them food or giving them money, and I usually befriend most of them. So I thought being able to build a house literally gives me the tools,
Right.
means to be able to do something about that. And I've got this bit of a crazy dream about ending homelessness in New Zealand, which it's a pretty big dream, but I think if I collaborate with the right agencies and sort of provide a good wraparound support, that it can be done.
Yeah, cool, great. And was there when you were talking to the nun, was that the moment? Was there a moment before that you sort of stopped and said, I need to do things differently? What prompted that?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few moments. I think I really struggled with suicidal thoughts over that, and that I was doing drugs. And I came to a point where I had to choose to change my life or just die. So.
Yeah. And have you been since once you got back into the trade?
Yeah, really good. I've been building for about 7 years, on and off. I really enjoy it. I love the visual progress and being able to create something with your own hands. And I love buying tools. So yeah, really love it.
You're in the right place. And sort of go back a step. When you talked about leaving school and going to the sort of timber yard, what prompted? How did that come about?
There was because my family is Catholic, there was the man who owned the timber yard. His name is Gavin, and he would employ all of the local youth from the church.
Yeah. So
my two brothers worked there before me, and a few other people. Yeah, and so I just got given that opportunity, and I really enjoyed it, and I think got a lot of value out of that.
And it's sort of aside from the purpose-driven stuff around homelessness, was that what sort of piqued your interest into building? Do you think working there initially? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it sort of opened up doors. The first builder that I worked for, I met him through the timber yard because he had a lot of his timber and supplies there.
Yeah, cool. All right, that makes total sense. And do you have any? I mean, we'll get to this, but I'm quite keen to ask you because you've followed that path that many people follow. But do you have any advice for any sort of young people that I think often fall into the trades because they're not sure what they want to do, or, you know, is there anything helpful that you discovered through that process of thinking through what it is you want to do?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, I think it's really fortunate for young people nowadays, because like there's a lot more options in trades.
Yeah.
And it's seen as you know, before it used to be seen as like a backup if you can't get into uni or you're not smart enough, like, you know, you can do a trade, whereas now it's a really good career option. You know, you can learn on the job and come out of it with your qualification without having like a massive debt, massive student loan.
Right. And it feels like it definitely is shifted. Do you think it's shifted in the last few years? It feels like it's shifting from what I'm
Yeah.
hearing, but yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then do you want to talk, you touched on at the start about, you know, trade still predominantly seen as quite a male dominated industry. How have you found that once you started working in the building trade?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting better. I kind of hope it's getting better. I've been pretty fortunate to work with like some really amazing men who have really empowered me over my journey. But there has been like a few that have been pretty nasty and have that belief that women don't belong in the trades. Like some of them literally say like you should be at home in the kitchen. Like
Right. And that still happens, or is that historically, or
yeah, it's still happening. Yeah.
And how do you handle that? How do you deal with that?
Well, I'm lucky. I've got quite a thick skin and a smart mouth. So I just give it back to them like worse than they give it to me, really. And that's how I deal with it. Like it's probably not the best way, but yeah, I feel for a lot of the younger girls. Like there's, you know, girls coming straight out of school in their late teens, early 20s, and they haven't had as much life experience as me to know how to deal with people that come at you like that.
Yeah. Any advice for those younger people that are coming through, because it is a pretty tough thing to deal with?
Yeah, it is tough. I think what I've learned is the best way to deal with them is really to ignore them. Like they're a lot worse now online than in person, because you can get away with saying pretty much anything on the internet. It would be to ignore them. If you're working with somebody like that, then, you know, like talk to the boss, and if they don't do anything about it, then I'd be suggesting like looking for another job, because there's no shortage of construction jobs around, and there's
people looking for work.
There's a lot of workplaces that have really good work environments, and they're always looking for people. So definitely don't stick around in a toxic workplace.
Yeah, I think we say that in any industry, to be honest, is good advice. And but do you feel it's improving, certainly from when you do your first job, maybe, or is it still?
It's a bit hard to gauge it, I think. Because I think with more females coming into the trades, there's definitely been a big boom in that. Like it's a bit more common to see women on site, but then like social media has sort of gotten a lot bigger, and then it sort of has created this environment for people to like troll people on there. And I feel like that's really the worst part of it at the moment.
Yeah, and do you see that with sort of women in the trades that are sort of doing that good work and talking about it on social media? Is that what you're talking about? You see them getting trolled by perspective? Yeah. Which is one of the downsides of social media, is that side of it. Like you say, it tends to be anonymous. Yeah. And then talk me through, with that in mind, you created Queens. Do you want to talk to me how that came about and where the idea germinated from?
I guess we wanted to do something to empower women and minorities. My partner and I, we actually started renovating a caravan in the lockdown in Queenstown, and she's like a tiny English girl, and then I'm like a larger Islander, and so we both sort of struggled to find clothes that fit both of us well. Like she was wearing extra small men's workwear, and it's still like baggy and so we sort of just had some conversations and decided to start Queen's Workwear, which it's been really good. We've met some really amazing female tradies like through Queen's Workwear, doing meetups and just online on social media. And we're really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, cool. And what sort of workwear you make? Do you want to talk through sort of the products you have on sale right now?
Yeah, right now we're self-funded, so we've started a bit slowly. We have like beanies, bucket hats, we've got cotton hoodies, 2 different t-shirts. We've got some builders pencils that say "Yeah, the girls" on them. They're pink. Yeah, they're pretty popular. And then we're currently just waiting on a few more samples for pants and some overalls, and then we've got like a high vis polo and singlet that we're bringing out soon.
Cool. And is that, and most of your demand, I presume it's women in trades, is that sort of in New Zealand, or are you getting demand from other parts of the world as well with that sort of connection into those influencers across social media?
Yeah, we've seen quite a few products to Australia, and then we've had a lot of interest from like Canada and England. So yeah, we're the shipping rates though from New Zealand are pretty crazy. Like to Australia, it's manageable, but like to anywhere else in the world, it's like almost the price of the
price of the shirt. Yeah. No, I understand that from getting stuff from the UK down here. For me, it's you often look at the shipping price and it is more than the product you're actually buying, which is crazy. Unfortunately, hopefully that will change. And then you touched on another thing there in terms of the caravan renovations. Do you want to talk about that? Because that seems like it's another sort of business you got on the go.
Yeah, we really enjoy that. Well, I really enjoy it now. We were doing it together when we moved from Auckland. We moved from Queenstown to Auckland in October last year. And over the summer, it's like people go crazy for caravans, you know, like it's real Kiwi, you know, Kiwi road trip. It's like what you do in the summer. And we take like the old retro ones from like 50s, 60s, 70s and totally gut them and rebuild brand new interiors. Mainly just using like plywood and painting it, styling it to look nice. But yeah, they sell really well. People really like them, and it sort of gives the retro caravans a new lease on life, and we'll keep them going for another, like, I don't know, 30, 40 years.
And so are you buying the caravans and doing them up, or are people bringing you their caravan to do up, or both?
We buy them and do them up. It's a bit easier. We've done a bit of work for other people, but it's definitely more enjoyable to just have the freedom to sort of
what you want.
Dream it up and just make it happen. So.
And what's the going rate on a done up caravan these days?
Anything between like 20 and 25 grand, but it depends. Yeah, it depends how much time goes into it, because there's like crazy amount of hours that you don't really expect. But
yeah. And how does it work? So one of the common things you see in trades businesses, they're often family businesses or people that are close to each other. How's that been working with your partner? That sometimes it can be challenging. Has that worked well?
Yeah, it has been challenging. It has been really good as well, though. Like when we first got together, I was living in Auckland and she was living in Queenstown. So when we eventually moved together down in Queenstown, it was great. And then doing our business together, you know, it sort of, we went from not having any time together to having like heaps of time, a little bit. But it was really good, like for our communication. Like we had to learn. It's such a different dynamic when you go from, you know, in a relationship to working together full time and not really having any space.
How did you manage it when there was friction? How did you deal with that?
I actually am doing therapy myself, and we sort of took some of our issues to a couple of like couples counseling sessions.
Yeah.
And my therapist Kirsten gave us like some really good tips and tools on how to manage sort of our conflict and about not taking things personally and just sort of trying to get on the same page a bit.
Yeah, any tips you'd give? There's probably lots of people listening who need that advice, I'm sure, especially those that are in family businesses. Yeah,
definitely. I think what we found is that it's really important to have sort of separate roles, which is a bit harder to do with the caravans because you're sort of doing the same thing, but with Queen's Workwear, like I'm really creative. I enjoy social media and I really enjoy shopping. So I sort of go with that side of the brand. And then Becca's really like good with numbers. She's got a real analytical brain and likes doing spreadsheets and is really organized. So she handles like the admin side of things. So I think it's really important to try and have a bit of separation in your roles. Like you can still overlap, but to have a bit of separation is good. And then I think also being equal, like going 50-50, like because when we started doing the caravans, because I'm a more experienced builder, and she was like my apprentice. I was getting paid more, which I think was not.
I like the way you say that. You were getting paid more, like it was someone else who came up with the salary rate between you.
Yeah, so I was like, I just want to get paid like what I normally get paid, which was a lot more than what she was starting at, and I think that is what caused our issues together, because then we didn't feel equal, and then I think also because like Becca's normally a bit more of the boss at home, whereas I wanted to be the boss at work, and then it's a little bit hard to like take that hat off when you leave work and you come home, and then I was getting a bit too bossy, I think.
So did you fast track her to the same salary?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. That's pretty good advice for anyone that's. I think the sort of delineation of roles seems to be something that works really, really well when I've seen trade businesses where there's often been a situation where there's been like a person that's come from a business background, great on the spreadsheets or those types of things, but hasn't actually got a skill as a trade, and actually they work with someone who's great at the trade and doesn't want to do the business stuff, and that can work really, really well. I think if there's good trust between those people. Cool. And what's next? The caravan thing? You're going to keep doing that?
Yeah. I'm doing that. I've got 3 caravans at the moment. One is ours that we're doing up, which is sort of a bit on the back burner at the moment. So we're doing that for the rest of the year, and then we're aiming to like go on the road in January and enjoy the summer, because the last summer we just worked renovating caravans and didn't enjoy any of it. Well, we enjoyed the work, but you want to have a holiday and go road tripping, go to beaches.
And you still doing the building work?
I'm not really at the moment. I'm just doing caravans right now in Queen's Workwear. Yeah. But I think once we settle down in Queenstown or spend a bit of time in Nelson, and we've got a lot of friends there who have building companies, so maybe we'll do a bit of work with them. Yeah.
And then for the brand itself, Queens, what's next?
I think we want to try and get stocked in like retail stores like Bunnings and Mitre 10, farmlands and that, so our range is a bit more accessible to people, and you can try things on in person. But also part of our road trip is that we want to take Queen's Workwear on the road. So we want to load up the ute with heaps of merch and like do regional trade meetups and just meet as many tradies as we can. Yeah,
cool. Great. Fantastic. This is really very inspiring that you're doing that. You've seen that gap and gone out there and done it. It's not easy starting a business, as everyone knows. It's a pretty hard thing to do in between juggling caravans and building and everything else. So congratulations. That's really great to see that happen. It definitely feels like a big gap. I don't see anyone else. Do you see anyone else doing similar things?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of other like women's workwear. Well, they're women's workwear brands in Australia, and then there's like a couple of companies in New Zealand that started as menswear and now have a women's workwear range. And when we started the brand, like quite a few people were saying, there's a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap? Because maybe there's a gap in the market for a reason. But I think we've sold a lot, and we're meeting lots of people, and the people that do buy our products, like I think it really does empower them to have workwear that looks good and it fits them well. And our aim is to have like a massive range, like have as many options, if not more, than what men have. And because we're both like an LGBTQIA+ community, we also are launching a unisex range alongside our women's range, because a lot of women, like even like myself, I don't wear like women's fit clothing, because I prefer like a longer sleeve and longer in the body. So I think it's good to have sort of those options that cater to everybody, and then hopefully some male allies will wear our clothing, and the non-binary tradies. And
cool.
We've actually got a tradie meetup in November coming up, so we're sort of planning to launch the brand then and hopefully meet a lot of different trades.
Oh, and anyone in New Zealand, where is that?
That's in Auckland, but we've got some of the girls that we met. We had a women's tradie meetup down in Christchurch a few months ago. That was just sort of a low-key organised by a bunch of girls, and some of them are coming from like Nelson and Queenstown. So we'll hope to see some faces.
Great. And so it feels like it's really helping to build a community as well. I think that's the other thing about this thing that I constantly hear is you're building a community with the brand.
Yeah. I think it's a good way of connecting people. I think, you know, there is definitely already a community out there, but I think, yeah, it's definitely our goal is to bring people together and help to improve the culture in the trades.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Well, we always finish, it's fantastic, by the way, really, really appreciate everything you're doing for the business. If you weren't doing what you're doing, if you weren't a builder, what trade would you pick? Trade probably would be Sparky. Probably Sparky. Okay. And why is that out of interest?
Well, we have a Sparky that does all the work on our caravan, so it'll be good to learn how to do it myself.
To do it yourself. That person probably doesn't want to hear that right now, but yeah. They won't let you look over their shoulder when they're doing it. And sort of doing up caravans, if you had an unlimited budget, what vehicle would you buy?
I can't go wrong with a Hilux.
Cool. And last couple of questions, sort of on site, you get a choice of a nice lunch when you're on site, what would it be?
I'd probably go to a restaurant if I had a choice. But no, I can't go past like a nice cheese and pineapple toasted sandwich and a hot chocolate.
Pineapple.
Yeah, pineapple.
Oh, pineapple and cheese. Oh, I've got. Yeah, no, I see it on pizza as well. I have a real problem with that. Oh, reminds me.
Come on, and me. Islanders love pineapple.
Pineapple. I love pineapple, just not with cheese.
Yeah. You're missing
cool. I'm missing. Well, I'm gonna have to try it now. I will have to give that a go. So you said cheese, pineapple, and what else?
Just cheese and pineapple.
Just cheese and pineapple. Nothing else on it.
Whatever you like. I'm vegetarian, so if you eat meat, then put some ham or something in there.
Yeah. All right. I'll give the pineapple a go. And then last question: who should we speak to next? Who do you come across when you're meeting all the trades that you meet that you think would make an interesting guest?
There's a few that spring to mind. I know a couple of wahine toa that really interesting. One is Paris. She's a welder down in Christchurch. She builds boats, and she's amazing at what she does. And then in Nelson, one of our friends, Eva, she's amazing as well. She and her husband have their own building company, and they're just smashing it. Like she's pretty inspirational. And she's diehard Haikoki. She's got a Haikoki nail gun tattooed on her leg.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. We'll have to look those people up if we haven't already. Cool. Well, Alex, I really appreciate you spending the time. I hope the business keeps growing. I'll keep looking out for the workwear and seeing how you grow. We'll keep an eye on it, and maybe we'll have you back on the show in the future to let us know how you got on. And I appreciate all the work you're doing to move forward the trades, move that conversation on, because it needs to happen. And I think we're making small steps, but yeah, you still hear these conversations where obviously there are people that still aren't fully bought into it yet, which is a shame. So yeah, appreciate all you're doing, and best of luck with the caravans, the move, and the workwear brand. It's really cool.
Thanks
for joining the show. And as always, for everyone else, if you've got any feedback, comments, please do shoot us an email or put the comments on social media. And of course, as always, if you give us a review, we would really appreciate it. Thanks, and see you next time. Cheers. Bye. A huge thanks to Alex for being our last and final guest for 2022. We will have one more episode at the end of the year for the best bits of 2022 for the podcast. And we will come back in 2023 with a new format, which I'm really excited about. In the meantime, please do follow us on social media. We've got over 50 episodes still to listen to. If you've missed some of those, go back and listen to some of the content. We've had some great people on the show. And in the meantime, have a great rest of the year, and we'll see you next year. Cheers.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Behind the Tools is brought to you by Tradify, job management software for your trade business. If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know by leaving a review, and be sure to tell your mates about it. Email behindthetools@tradifyhq.com if you or someone you know would be keen to join the show as a guest.